Okay, great. Thank you, Karen. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. Before we start our confirmation hearings, we will begin with committee introductions, and we'll start with Chairman Chiazzo.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Chris Chiazzo, House District 28, beautiful Western Scarborough.
Representative Supika.
Good morning. I'm Laura Supika, and I represent District 126, a portion of Bangor.
Okay, Representative Wood.
Good morning. I'm Barb Wood, and I represent House District 38, where it's nice and foggy this morning on the western end of the peninsula of Portland.
Okay, Senator Farron.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name's Senator Farron, living in Norridgewock, representing the fine folks in Somerset County in the town of Rome and Kennebec County.
Senator Hickman.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Hickman, representing Senate District 14, 11 towns in southern Kennebec County.
Representative Kinney.
Good morning, I'm Mary Ann Kinney. I represent House District 99 in Waldo County. And Representative Wood, I think that fog is stretching the entire state because it's quite foggy up here too.
It was a foggy drive this morning. Representative Tuttle.
Representative John Tuttle, District 18, part of Sanford, mostly Sanford's east side. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Great. Yeah. Representative McCray.
Good morning, I'm Jay McCray in foggy Harpswell, and I represent West Bath and Northeast Brunswick, where it's foggy too. Thank you.
Representative Riley.
Hi, I'm Representative Morgan Riley. I represent House District 34, which is part of Westbrook, which is also foggy.
We're getting a full state weather report today. Representative Harrington.
Good morning, Matt Harrington. I represent part of the city of Sanford in Springvale and House District 19.
Great. So I think I covered everybody, and today it looks like we've got everybody, and today we've got our committee clerk, Karen Montel, with us as well. So the order that we're going to go in for the confirmation hearings will be as posted. So we'll start with Sarah Leclerc, followed by Sari Green, then Joseph Hanslip, and then Noel March. So with that, we'll open the first confirmation hearing. So this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Ms. Sarah Leclerc, Esquire of Woodland, for appointment to the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Reforms. Or election practices, sorry. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendation to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. This means that anyone who is a participant in the meeting via Zoom can be seen and also heard if their microphone is unmuted. People testifying cannot be seen or heard until they're called upon to speak. This meeting will be recorded and available to view on the committee's YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. And just for those who are in the attendees list, when we bring you in to become a panelist in the meeting, you may drop the audio for a couple of seconds as we come in. So it may look like you're being dropped, but just be a little patient, and then you'll be joining the meeting. So pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes House Chairman Chiazzo for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move we nominate the candidate for the position as recommended.
So a copy of the statutory requirements for this position is available at the roster, not at the rostrum, but online, and for committee members, they were all emailed out as well. So the chair now recognizes, I believe we've got Melissa O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. So welcome.
Good morning, Senator Lucchini. I just would like to know, I do not see our nominee here. I emailed Karen to see if she had her in a holding tank, but I'm a little concerned that I don't see her name.
Yep, we're doing, let's see, Sarah Leclerc. Yep, she's in the attendees list. We'll bring her in as well. So she's here, or should be here. Yep.
Do you want me to go without her being, oh, there she is.
Yep,
okay.
Go ahead. Yep, they can all hear in the attendees. Yep.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet T. Mills. I am here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in support of the nomination of Sarah Leclerc of Woodland as a member of the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices. The Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices can be found in Maine Revised Statutes under 1 MRSA Section 1002. The Commission consists of 5 members appointed by the Governor. All members must be persons of recognized judgment, probity, and objectivity. Ms. Leclerc exemplifies such values and is being nominated to seat number 3, which requires that the nominee be recommended by the Senate Democrats. Attorney Leclerc graduated from Ricker College with her bachelor's before pursuing her JD. Upon receiving her JD, Ms. Leclerc became a staff attorney for Pine Tree Legal Assistance and remained in this position for about 10 years. In 1995, she moved from Pine Tree Legal and became a private attorney until retiring in 2019. Outside of work, she has served as a board member for the Battered Women's Project, Maine Civil Liberties Union, and the Presque Isle Homeless Shelter. Attorney Leclerc is also a formally elected member of the Town of Woodland School Board. She has been recognized for work on multiple occasions by organizations such as the Volunteer Lawyers Project, United States Legal Services Corporation, and the American Bar Association, among others. Between her work experience in the legal field and community service background, we believe Attorney Leclerc is an excellent nominee for this role. It is for these reasons outlined above that I ask you on behalf of Governor Mills to support the nomination of Attorney Sarah Leclerc of Woodland. Thank you for your time this morning. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill Lowe. Any questions from the committee at this time? Seeing none, thank you for introducing the candidate. Okay, the chair now recognizes Ms. Sarah Leclerc Esquire for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. So welcome.
Thank you, Senator Lucchini. Representative Chiazzo and members of the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee. My name is Sarah Leclerc, and I'm here today to discuss with you my nomination to the Maine Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices. I appreciate the confidence of the caucus in presenting my name and Governor Mills for nominating me to serve on the commission. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve Maine as it continues to pioneer and lead the nation in expanded voter participation and improving representation in our democracy, especially at a time when the United States as a whole is facing multiple challenges to the fundamental concepts and processes needed to conduct fair elections. My background, as noted, includes serving as a Maine attorney since 1983. I have always viewed the practice of law as an opportunity to be of service to people and the systems which work to honor the constitutional guarantees of due process and equal protection of the law. I was excited and honored to work for the first approximately 12 years of my career as a staff attorney with Pine Tree Legal Assistance in their Presque Isle office, providing legal services to low-income Mainers in a variety of civil legal matters throughout Aroostook County. I opened my own law practice in 1995 and was able to expand the range of legal services I provided. My first location was across the hall from our local domestic violence project's administrative office. By virtue of that proximity, I ended up representing numerous victims of domestic violence on a largely pro bono basis for over 10 years. I also had the privilege of serving as the attorney for the Aroostook Band of Micmacs in their cases that were governed by the ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Act. When looking back, my recollection of that experience is one of profound gratefulness to the tribe's ICWA directors and the tribal members I was privileged to work with in an effort to protect the best interests of Indian children and to promote the stability of the tribe and its families. I am currently privileged to serve as a judge on the Court of the Penobscot Nation's appellate panel. I have lived in Woodland, Maine since 1988. I was elected to the Woodland School Board and served from 2008 through 2014 during the state's efforts at consolidation. I've been both a candidate for the Maine House in 2018 and had the opportunity to serve as treasurer for a clean elections candidate for House District 146 in 2016. I am familiar, therefore, with the work and responsibilities of the Maine Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices. I have firsthand knowledge of the highly competent, accessible, and knowledgeable staff of the commission. If confirmed, I am looking forward to working with Jonathan Wayne and his staff to continue to promote and protect the acknowledged integrity of Maine's elections and the other vital work of the commission. I thank you for your opportunity to speak today, and we'll be, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Leclerc. The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions of the nominee at this time. Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Leclerc.
Thank you.
Okay. So the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against this nomination. So anyone who has a written statement but who does not wish to speak should have submitted the statement with the committee clerk prior to today's hearing. All such statements shall contain the name and residence of the person who prepared the statement, and a copy of each written statement presented to the committee at this hearing will be made available to the nominee prior to the committee's vote, and the nominee will have an opportunity to respond to the written comment. Those who wish to speak in person registered with the committee clerk prior to the start of this hearing and will be called upon by the chairs, at which time they will be promoted to panelist status in Zoom and can be seen and heard. When it's your turn to speak, please observe the following. So state your name and place of residence prior to presenting your testimony. Only comments concerning the suitability of this particular nominee for this particular position will be considered in order. All other comments will be considered out of order. After you are done speaking and there are no more questions from the members, you will be returned to the attendee status and the next person will be called. Okay, so first on the list, we've got Senate President Troy Jackson. Welcome, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Senator Lucchini and Representative Cazzo and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. I am Senate President Troy Jackson. I represent Senate District 1 in Aroostook County. And very honored to be here today in front of your committee to speak in favor of Sarah Leclerc for the Maine Ethics Commission. Side note, I am in Aroostook County, Caribou this morning, and it's very foggy here also, just so you have that complete statewide look at this. But to be quite honest, I'm very honored to speak in favor of Attorney Sarah Leclerc. I think she has a firm grasp on the law, understands it, very well, is very passionate. Like I said, and my belief applies it fairly, the way that, she feels strongly that it was, it's interpreted by, most people that understand the law. And Sarah is, just someone that I have complete confidence in to go forward with our election laws in a fair and balanced manner. She has advised me many times on things that she felt I was accurate on, and she has also advised me many times on things I was inaccurate on. So she has no problem telling people, the way that she believes the law is interpreted. I think that's what we need out of all of our Ethics Commission members, people that, again, put things fair and balanced. And Sarah has a long history of doing that experience. And I think she's going to make a great member to the commission. And so with that, I'll take any questions, but I, have 100% confidence in this confirmation.
Great. Thank you, President Jackson. Any questions from the members of the committee for President Jackson this time? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.
All right, so all public comment having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. We'll review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, and we'll vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. So the hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for Ms. Sarah Leclerc, Esquire of Woodland, for appointment to the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices is closed. So in accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee's members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to take the vote immediately. Okay. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Ms. Sarah Leclerc, Esquire of Woodland, for appointment to the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 135th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Okay, is the committee ready for the question? The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
Yay.
Senator Farren, yay. Representative Chiazzo.
Yay.
Representative Chiazzo, yay. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney.
Yes.
Representative Kinney, yes. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey. Representative Corey, absent. Representative Dollop. Representative Dollop, absent. 11 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 2 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, Karen. So 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative with 2 absent, it is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs that the nomination of Ms. Sarah Leclerc, Esquire of Woodland, be appointed to the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices be confirmed. So congratulations. Normally we'd all stand up and shake your hand, but such are the times. Yeah, there you go, virtual. Congrats.
Thank you very much. I just realized I was muted. So thank you. Have a great day.
Great, you too, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the next. We have 3 confirmation hearings for the Gambling Control Board. Okay, so we'll open the next confirmation hearing. So this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for the purpose of considering the nomination by by the governor of Sari S. Green of South Portland for appointment to the Gambling Control Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of this nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. That means that anyone who is a participant in the meeting via Zoom can be seen and heard if their microphone is unmuted. People testifying cannot be seen or heard until they're called upon to speak. And this meeting is being recorded and will be available on the committee's YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. So pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes Chairman Chiazzo for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend confirmation of Ms. Sari S. Green of South Portland for appointment to the Gambling Control Board.
Thank you, House Chairman Chiazzo. And again, just a reminder to members that the confirmation packets are in your email. So the chair now recognizes Melissa O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. So welcome back.
Thank you, Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Sari S. Green of South Portland as a member of the Gambling Control Board. The Gambling Control Board can be found in Maine Revised Statutes under Title 8, Chapter 31, Section 1002. The board consists of 5 members appointed by the governor. 4 of the members must have training or experience in at least one of the following fields: corporate finance, economics, law, accounting, law enforcement, computer science, or the gambling industry. At least 1 member must have experience in harness racing. Ms. Green has an extensive background in cybersecurity and business administration. She received a bachelor's degree from Bryant University and went on to study for her master's in business from Plymouth University. Ms. Green spent 10 years in computer sales before becoming the director of Novel Technical Education for Connecting Portland. Soon after, Ms. Green became the Director of Technical Education at VTech and later became the Managing Director for the Maine Anti-Phishing Coalition. Ms. Green founded her own company, Sage Data Security, LLC, and served as CEO from 2002 until 2013. She continued as the Managing Director for Sage Data Holdings until 2016 and was a member of the board until Sage was acquired by Tyler Technologies. Starting in 2016 to the present, Ms. Green has been serving as a member of the board of directors and trustees of Bangor Bank Corp. And is chair of the Bangor Savings Bank Enterprise Risk Management Committee. Outside of her career, Ms. Green has been a dedicated member of her community, has been the director of Northern New England American Red Cross Board of Directors, an appointed member of the City of South Portland's Economic Development Committee, a member of the South Portland School District Internet Access Steering Committee, and a founder of the South Portland Community of Kindness. Between her professional experience and dedication to our state, Ms. Green is an excellent nominee for this board. She is no stranger to rolling up her sleeves and getting the job done. It is for the reasons I've outlined above that on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Ms. Green. I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions for Ms. O'Neill Lowe at this time. Okay, seeing none, thank you for your presentation. So now we'll move to the statement by the nominee. So the chair now recognizes Ms. Sari S. Green for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Senator Lucchini, Representative Casio, esteemed members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. My name is Sari Green from South Portland, and I'm here today to discuss with you my nomination to the Gambling Control Board. It is an honor to be nominated by Governor Mills for this position. By way of background, I reached out to the governor's office in the fall, and I offered to serve in whatever capacity she felt that would be in the best interest in the state of Maine. I bring to the Gambling Control Board expertise in technology, cybersecurity, privacy, finance, and entrepreneurship, as well as curiosity and a willingness to question. And as we look to the future of the gambling industry, these very skills are going to be more important than ever. Regardless of how one feels about gambling, we can all agree that the people of Maine should be able to trust the integrity and the fairness of the game, the facility, and the operators. And it is my intent to honor that trust through appropriate oversight and governance. Thank you for the opportunity to address you, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Representative Tuttle.
Yes, Ms. Green, thank you for putting yourself forward for this position. Do you have a background in anything to do with gambling control or areas like that in your lifetime?
Not specifically in gambling control. However, I am very familiar with controls that organizations would put in place, technology controls, cybersecurity controls, finance controls, and privacy controls, all of which are pertinent to casinos and gaming institutions.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. Green at this time? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony and thank you for being willing to step up for this.
You're welcome.
Okay, the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against the nomination. Anyone who has a written statement but who does not wish to speak should have submitted the statement with the committee clerk prior to today's hearing. All such statements shall contain the name and residence of the person who prepared the statement. And a copy of each written statement presented to the committee at this hearing will be made available to the nominee prior to the committee's vote, and the nominee will have an opportunity to respond to the written comment. So those who wish to speak in person, registered with the committee clerk prior to the start of this hearing will be called upon by the chairs, at which time they'll be promoted to panelist and can be seen and heard. When it's your turn to speak, please observe the following. State your name and place of residency prior to presenting your testimony, and only comments concerning the suitability of this particular nominee for this particular position will be considered in order. All other comments will be considered out of order. And after you're done speaking, we'll move you back to the attendee status and the next person will be called. So for people who registered today, we have Lori Osher. So welcome, Ms. Osher.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and members of the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee. I am Representative Lori Osher. I represent District 123, which includes most of Orono. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of the nomination of Sari Stern Green to the Gambling Control Board, a unit of the state government within the Department of Public Safety. I'm pleased that Governor Mills has nominated Sari Stern Green to serve on the 5-member Gambling Control Board. There's no doubt that the governor chose Ms. Green because of her background in technology, cybersecurity, privacy, and entrepreneurship. Ms. Green is a member of the board of directors, is a trustee of the Bangor Bancorp, and is chair of the Bangor Savings Bank's Enterprise Risk Management Committee. She's an expert in cyber data security and information security services, and previously served as the managing director of the Maine Anti-Phishing Coalition and chaired the Cyber Crime Symposium from 2010 to 2018. The Cyber Crime Symposium brought together a diverse group of researchers, journalists, security specialists, business people, law enforcement, and legislators to learn from each other, to discuss how to best protect and defend organizations, communities, and governments from cyber criminals. She's the right person for the Maine Gambling Control Board because she has the specialized knowledge and integrated understanding of the technologies being used in banking and cyber transactions. I strongly support Ms. Green's nomination and believe her decades of experience, her commitment to integrity and fairness, and her ability to organize and communicate with varied experts and stakeholders make her a perfect choice for the Maine Gambling Control Board.
Great. Thank you, Representative Osher. Any questions from the committee for the representative? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony today.
Happy to be here.
And that concludes the people who have pre-registered for the hearing today. So all public comment having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. So we'll review any additional information or written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, and we'll vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA, Section 157, and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for Ms. Sari S. Green of South Portland for appointment to the Gambling Control Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. So at this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member objects to proceeding to take the vote immediately. Okay, seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Ms. Sari S. Green of South Portland for appointment to the Gambling Control Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
Yay.
Senator Farren, yay. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney.
Yes.
Representative Kinney, yes. Representative Harrington.
Yay.
Representative Harrington, yay. Representative Corey. Representative Corey, absent. Representative Dollop. Representative Dollop, absent. 11 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 2 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Karen. 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs that the nomination of Ms. Sari S. Green of South Portland for appointment to the Gambling Control Board be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And perhaps I should clarify that anti-phishing is fishing with a PH. I have nothing against fishing with an F, F-I-S-H.
I was going to ask
fine.
that, but.
Just to be clear, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yep, thank you. That wouldn't fly over very well in Maine. So. Thank you. Okay, so at this point, we'll get ready to move on to the next confirmation hearing. Okay, so we will open the public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Joseph R. Hanslip of Sanford for appointment to the Gambling Control Board. Under the law and rules and joint rules of the legislature, the committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. Again, this is being live streamed on YouTube, and anybody who's a participant in the meeting can be seen via Zoom and also on YouTube, and they can be heard if their microphone is unmuted. This meeting will also be posted to the YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. So pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes House Chairman Chiazzo for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend confirmation of Mr. Joseph R. Hanslip of Sanford for the appointment to the Gambling Control Board.
Thank you. And again, the copy of the confirmation packets are in your emails. So at this point, the chair will now recognize Melissa, again, O'Neill Lowe, for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. So welcome.
Thank you again, Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am still the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills, and I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in support of the nomination of Joseph Hanslip of Sanford as a member of the Gambling Control Board. If it pleases the committee, I will forego reading the statutory piece of my testimony for the next couple of nominees.
Okay.
For the last 15 years, Mr. Hanslip has been the bail commissioner within the Maine Judicial Department. Prior to this, he was the Assistant Director of Safety and Security at St. Joseph's College, as well as a patrolman in Groton, Massachusetts. Outside of his professional life, he has been a county commissioner in York County, a city councilor in Sanford, as well as a member of the York County Budget Committee from 2005 until 2020. And in 2021, Mr. Hanslip became a member of the Sanford Planning Board. He has demonstrated over the course of his career and during his time in public service that he has knowledge and experience that is well served and will be well served on the Gambling Control Board. His dedication to our state and to his community is exemplary. He will take his role very seriously while bringing vast experience from his years in public service and his work in and around law enforcement. It is because of these reasons outlined above that on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Joe Hanslip of Sanford. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has this morning.
Thank you. The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions of Ms. O'Neill Lowe.
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you. So the chair now recognizes Mr. Joseph R. Hanslip for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning, Senator Lucchini. Am I on?
Yep, you're good.
Good. I'm a techno dunce. I'm looking forward to working with Sari Green, and maybe she can give me some pointers. Good morning, Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and the honorable members of the committee. My name is Joe Hanslip, and I'm a resident of Sanford. I am honored to be speaking with you this morning regarding my nomination to serve on the Gambling Control Board, and I'm grateful to Governor Mills for appointing me. I believe that my training and experience will help me to be a good addition to the board. While in particular, I want to highlight that while serving as a county commissioner in York County, a city councilor in Sanford, and a member of the York County Budget Committee, I have learned much about the practices of accounting and how to read and understand various financial documents in order to help prepare a budget that in some cases exceeded $50 million. These positions, as well as being a police officer, have made me familiar and often a participant in judicial and quasi-judicial proceedings, serving on both sides of the table. And as a police officer, I have a lot of experience with regard to investigations. I believe that my training and experience will allow me to be helpful to the Gambling Control Board, and I look forward to serving. I appreciate this time to address you, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hanslip. The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions of the nominee. Representative Tuttle.
Mr. Chairman, just a brief statement. I've known Mr. Hanslip for 40 years. I consider him a friend. We served together on the city council for a number of years. And I think this is a a great appointment, and I strongly encourage his endorsement for this position.
Thank you, Representative Tuttle. Representative Harrington.
No questions, just a statement. Good morning, Mr. Hanslip. It's not too often there's three of us here from Sanford, so looking forward to having you serve in this position.
Well, we're taking over, Matt. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from committee members at this time? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Hanslip.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, statements from the floor. The chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against the nomination. At this time, we don't have anybody pre-registered, but anyone who has a written statement who does not wish to speak should have submitted the statement to the committee clerk prior to today's hearing. All such statements shall contain the name and residence of the person who prepared the statement. A copy of each written statement presented to the committee at this hearing will be made available to the nominee prior to the committee's vote, and the nominee will have an opportunity to respond to the written comment. Okay, so at this point, all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. We'll review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, and we'll vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for Mr. Joseph R. Hanslip of Sanford for appointment to the Gambling Control Board is closed. So in accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. So at this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to take the vote immediately. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Joseph R. Hanslip of Sanford for appointment to the Gambling Control Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation. A vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The committee clerk will call the roll. Karen, when you're ready, we can call the roll. Yep.
My apologies. Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
Yay.
Senator Farren, yay. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray. Senator McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney.
Yes.
Representative Kinney, yes. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey. Representative Corey, absent. Representative Dollop. Representative Dollop, absent. 11 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 2 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Karen. So 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative with 2 absent, it is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs that the nomination of Mr. Joseph R. Hanslip of Sanford for appointment to the Gambling Control Board be confirmed. So congratulations, sir.
Yeah, congratulations, Joe.
Thank you all.
Look forward to working with you.
See you, Joe.
Thank you.
Everybody knows Joe.
Pretty much.
Okay, so now we'll move to the final confirmation hearing of the morning. So this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Noel C. March of Hampton for appointment to the Gambling Control Board. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial of the nominee by a majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or her representative, the nominee, and any other persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. Anyone who's in the meeting can be seen and also heard if their microphone is unmuted, and people can testify and cannot be seen or heard until they're called upon to speak. This meeting will be recorded and available to view on the committee's YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. So pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nominee, the chair recognizes House Chairman Chiazzo for the purpose of making such a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend confirmation of Mr. Noel C. March of Hamden for appointment to the Gambling Control Board.
Thank you. And a copy of the statutory requirements and confirmation packet is in everybody's email. So the chair now recognizes Melissa O'Neill Lowe for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. Welcome back. Ms. O'Neill Lowe, I think you're muted.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you, Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. I am Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Noel March of Hampton and as the member of the Gambling Control Board. Mr. March started his career in law enforcement when he attended the FBI National Academy. Upon completion of the session, he went on to become a deputy sheriff for the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department. After 2 years as chief deputy, he went on to become the assistant vice president and relationship manager at MBA America. He then attended the university here in Maine at the University of New England, where he received his bachelor's degree in organizational leadership. During this time, he also acted as the director of Maine's Community Policing Institute and the chief of police, director of public safety, security, and transportation at the University of Maine. In 2010, Mr. March became a United States Marshal for the District of Maine and remained in that role until 2018, when he became a senior director at the University of Southern Maine. Currently, Mr. March is a lecturer of justice studies as well as the director of the Maine Community Policing Institute at the University of Maine in Augusta. Alongside his extensive career in law enforcement, Mr. March has served as a founding trustee and president of the Life Flight of Maine Foundation, a member of the Executive Committee for Boy Scouts Troop Number 41, as well as a member of the Phi Kappa Phi Honors Society Executive Committee. Because of the several reasons outlined above, it is because of those reasons that on behalf of the governor, I would ask that you support the nomination of Noel March. I would be happy to answer questions that anybody has this morning.
The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions for Ms. O'Neill Lowe. Seeing none, thank you. So the chair now recognizes Mr. Noel C. March for the purpose of making a statement concerning this nomination. So welcome, Mr. March.
Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Senator Lucchini, Representative Chiazzo, and members of the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee. As Melissa said, my name is Noel March. I'm a resident of Hamden, and I'm here to speak with you about my nomination to the Gambling Control Board. And I want to say first, thank you all, each of you, for your public service. It seems as though public service has been my calling as well for so much of my career. It's where I realized my greatest professional satisfaction, and I would dare say personal satisfaction as well, second only to my family. In addition to what you've heard, I've also served as a selectman for the town of Friendship and town meeting moderator for the town of Cushing. But police service has been the majority of my career and public safety. I've served in local, county, state, and as you heard, federal law enforcement roles, perhaps most notably in 2010, when I was honored with the presidential appointment of United States Marshal, which I served in for 8 years. And I was the police chief just prior to that for the University of Maine for about 8 years. And honestly, I don't know which of those positions was more challenging, U.S. Marshal or UMaine Police Chief, but they were both very satisfying as well. I just want to say that I believe in and I practice and I teach bias-free policing, procedural justice, police ethics, and rule of law. And that all of this knowledge, skill, ability, experience, such that I can bring to the Gambling Control Board, if confirmed, I would make that commitment and that promise to you and to the people of Maine. It would be an honor to serve on this board as a steward of the public trust, and I'm happy to take any questions that anyone on this committee may have. And again, thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Mr. March. The chair would ask if any member of the committee has questions at this point. Okay, seeing none, thank you for your willingness to step up for the position. Great, so the chair will now take comments from persons attending this hearing who wish to speak for or against the nomination. Anyone who has a written statement but who does not wish to speak should have submitted the statement with the committee clerk prior to today's hearing. All such statements shall contain the name and residence of the person who prepared the statement. A copy of each written statement presented to the committee at this hearing will be made available to the nominee prior to the committee's vote, and the nominee will have an opportunity to respond to the written comment. So at the moment, we don't have anybody registered to speak, so we will move on. So all public comments having been taken, the committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that have been received by the committee, and then vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III MRSA Section 157 and the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs for Mr. Noel C. March of Hamden for appointment to the Gambling Control Board is closed. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on this nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing unless all committee members who are present agree. At this time, therefore, the chair will inquire whether any member present objects to proceeding to take the vote immediately. Okay, seeing none. Seeing no objection, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Noel C. March of Hamden for appointment to the Gambling Control Board be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MRSA Chapter 6, Section 157, and with the joint rules of the 130th Legislature, the vote will be taken by the yeas and the nays. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending confirmation, and a vote of no will be against the motion to recommend confirmation. Is the committee ready for the question? The committee clerk will call the roll.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
Yay.
Senator Farren, yay. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Stupica.
Yes.
Representative Stupica, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney.
Yes.
Representative Kinney, yes. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey. Representative Corey, absent. Representative Dollop. Representative Dollop, absent. 11 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 2 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Karen. So 11 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative with 2 absent. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs that the nomination of Mr. Noel C. March of Hamden for appointment to the Gambling Control Board be confirmed. So congratulations, Mr. March.
Thank you all for your confidence.
Yep. Look forward to working with you, and thanks for stepping up for the position.
Likewise. Have a great day. Stay healthy, everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so that concludes the confirmation hearing portion. Thank you, Ms. O'Neill Lowe. And I think the plan is we have several work sessions this afternoon. We do have one language review, which we can hit now, and then I think we'll probably take a quick break for caucusing. Oops. Actually, we won't start the work sessions until 11:30 as advertised anyway. So what we'll do is we'll start with this language review, and then we'll take a caucus break, a break for anything else, and then we'll come back to start the work sessions. So Janet, I think you're on mute.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so we have one amendment to review today. This is one you voted earlier this week. It might even have been Wednesday. So this is LD 625 to resolve directing a review of crucial needs and lapses in responding to and preventing sexual trauma in the Maine National Guard. This was a unanimous OPTPAS as amended report, and the only change to the bill, or excuse me, to the resolve, is to change the date by which the Adjutant General reports back to this committee from November 1st of this fall to March 1st of next spring. As soon as you amend a bill that has a minor cost increase fiscal note, it all of a sudden needs that fiscal note attached. So if you hadn't made any amendment to the bill for reasons I don't understand, you wouldn't have needed a fiscal note. But because there is an amendment, they attach this fiscal note. But it is a minor cost increase. So I don't know how long that stays on the table or not. That's up to the Appropriations Committee, I believe. Just to show you, the original bill is attached here. And I'll post this online for anybody who wants to see it as soon as this amendment review is over.
Great, thank you, Janet. Any questions? Senator Farron.
Yeah, just, does that seem, am I the only one that seems a little crazy too, that we go from no?
Yeah.
Well, no, that just doesn't make sense, does it?
It is strange.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
It's bizarre. I just wanted to tell you because on Wednesday, I told you all there was no need for a fiscal note because that's what the preliminary fiscal impact statement said. But I've come across this before where they'll say if it's a minor cost increase, no fiscal note needed. But as soon as you have an amendment, since I think the theory is you're already amending the bill, you might as well put that fiscal impact on it. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that rule. It's just the outcome I'm reporting to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Janet. Mr. Chair, is there, I mean, can we just ask the question or is it even worth it?
Janet, can you scroll down just so we can read it again for a second?
Yeah.
I don't think these even hit the appropriation table.
Okay,
to be
as long as they
honest.
don't,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is Representative Corey here? He could maybe tell us.
He's not today.
I might be able to help.
Representative Kinney.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe part of the reason for the fiscal note on an amendment is because there is a slight cost to rewrite what's being done. So that's where the minor cost comes from, I believe.
Okay. Good to know. I think with these, they don't even put them on the table, so we should be good.
All right.
Right. Any other questions on this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll get that processing. And so we have on our schedule 11:30 work sessions. So we've got about 20 minutes that we can take a break to about 11:30 or a few minutes after for people to take a break or caucus or whatever you need to do. So we'll be back in about 20 minutes and the same link will work for everybody. So Right. See you all in a few.
essentials only, toiletries, gym clothing, that kind of thing. This pamphlet
Okay, we'll get started. Sorry for the delay. We'll get started in a couple minutes. So we've got a number of work sessions on the agenda this afternoon. So Janet, maybe can we start with LD 638, if you have that one ready?
Yes. Hopefully you can see that screen. So I'm just reminding you that these are all available online for anybody watching as well. So LD 638 is an act to ensure the timely and transparent delivery of unofficial election results in Maine. Let me blow that up a little bit. So the bill requires, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I usually forget to press unmute, so I was just checking. The bill requires an election warden, as soon as practicable after the election results are tabulated, to post a paper copy of those unofficial election results at the voting place or at the municipal office in a secure place where the public may view the results when the office is closed, and to transmit the unofficial election results to the Secretary of State electronically. In addition, the bill requires the Secretary of State to design or approve the format for the electronic transmission of the unofficial election results by wardens. And the Secretary of State must immediately post unofficial election results received from the election wardens on a publicly accessible website, must also correct any errors in those unofficial election results after receiving the attested copy of the relevant election return from the municipal clerk. And the Secretary of State is directed in the bill to develop a public awareness program about this availability of unofficial election results. For purposes of the bill, that phrase, unofficial election results, is defined as the number of votes cast for each candidate, including a declared write-in candidate, in each federal, state, county, or municipal candidate election. And it's the results that are declared by the election warden publicly at the voting place as soon as the ballots are counted. For elections determined by ranked choice voting, these would be the tally of first choice votes cast for each candidate and declared write-in candidate. There was a question about sort of the timeline under current law. So under section 700 of current law, which is repealed and replaced in the bill, an election official must post a paper copy of the unofficial election results as soon as possible after preparing the election return outside the voting place of the municipal office. But in this case, under current law, it says if there's a secure place available where the public can view those results when the office or the voting place is closed. In addition, by the close of business on Thursday, current law requires the warden to list the number of votes for each candidate or question in state elections on the election return form, and then which they do as soon as the election results are declared. So on election night, they do that, and then they transmit that to the municipal clerk, who by Thursday must total the results from the various voting districts in the municipality, if there are more than one district in that municipality. The clerk also has to check the warden's return of votes cast for tabulation or recording errors by comparing them to tally sheets or tapes. And then when all of that's complete, the clerk has to prepare an attested copy of the election return. Under current law, the clerk must file that copy with the Secretary of State by 5 p.m. on the second business day after election, which is why that's 5 p.m. of Thursday on the election week. According to Deputy Secretary of State Flynn, who I contacted after the hearing and asked for some more detail, and she was very gracious in giving it to me, municipal clerks perform these tasks by entering data from each of the warden's returns into the central voter registration system, verifying the vote totals and printing the certified results from the central voter registration system. Clerks must then submit that certified election result along with the warden's return of votes cast and some other documents to the Secretary of State by Thursday, and they have several options of how to do that. They can do that in person, via overnight mail, via fax, or as an attachment to an email. And I will show you very quickly, but I'm not going to go through it all. That very attached to the very last page of this bill analysis is the checklist that the municipal clerks are given when they go through this process, and it tells them what they have to do and how they enter all this information into the central voter registration system. That spits out the certification after they do all the steps, and then these are all the ways they can send it to the Secretary of State's office by Thursday of the election week. So continuing the timeline that was inquired about at the public hearing, within 20 days after the election, current law requires the Secretary of State to tabulate the election returns for each candidate or question on the ballot and submit a certified copy of that tabulation to the governor. And the Secretary of State is also required to make those results available to the public. And then the final determination occurs in December or January for state offices. So the Constitution directs the governor to examine the results certified by the Secretary of State. And then in December, on that date, that's stated in the Constitution, they issue a summons to the individuals who appear to have been elected to the legislature. For gubernatorial elections, the Secretary of State presents the results to the legislature itself in January for a final determination of who won that governor's race. At the public hearing, there were several different concerns and proposals for potential amendments to the bill raised. So the Maine Municipal Association raised as a first issue about the mandatory paper posting of unofficial election results. And they noted that in current law, municipal officials have to post those unofficial election results only if there's a secure place available where those results can be viewed even when the office is closed. But under the bill, it looks as though the posting of those unofficial election results is mandatory. And the MMA expressed concern that in some municipalities, there may not be such a secure place already. And so there may be some costs associated with that requirement of the bill. Sorry, my computer just beeped at me. In addition, there was a concern raised by the Secretary of State and the League of Women Voters, just as a thought experiment about the requirement for the Secretary of State to post unofficial election results on its website. Would that potentially create confusion among the public about the fact that the later results that are posted on the website are in fact official results? There were some concerns raised about costs by several different entities testifying, including potential costs to the Secretary of State to design a new website for these unofficial election results, to secure additional temporary staff on election night to make sure that they can compile, check, and upload all those results onto the website, and to conduct the public awareness campaign required in the bill. There were also some concerns that municipalities might have additional staffing expenses related to transmitting these unofficial results. There were also concerns raised about a risk of error. Several different associations testified that requiring municipal officials to enter these unofficial election results late at night on the election night might lead to unintentional errors, which could possibly erode public trust. The Secretary of State and the Maine Town and City Clerks Association testified that municipalities would require support and training and clear procedures for the unofficial election result requirements in the bill. And then there were several items that I read in the testimony, more proposed amendments, although they weren't necessarily clearly identified as such. They seemed to me that way. So I apologize to anyone who submitted that testimony if that's not directly what they meant. But the Maine Town and City Clerks Association suggested removing the requirement in the bill that municipal clerks transmit the unofficial results of local elections to the Secretary of State, and they suggested instead that the bill focus on state elections. The Secretary of State suggested delaying the effective date of the bill to permit her office sufficient time to consult with other states on best practices, obtain the necessary technology, design appropriate procedures, and train the municipal clerks and conduct the public outreach campaign. And then in addition, as drafted, the bill requires the election warden to post the unofficial election results and submit those results to the Secretary of State. When I consulted with the Deputy Secretary about the procedures that take place currently, in our discussion, it arose that it may make sense to amend this bill to not impose that duty on the warden for the specific precinct, but instead to impose that duty of posting the unofficial election results on the municipal clerk, who will compile all the different precincts in one municipality, and that it might make sense for you to consider instead having that person do the unofficial results posting. And then the only technical issue is, as current law is drafted, although it's not exceedingly clear, it does appear to require, when under current law, the election official has to post the results outside of the municipal office or outside of the voting place. It does seem like it includes both state candidate and ballot question elections, but the bill as drafted is only focused on candidate elections. And there was a request for the bill sponsor, if he happened to be aware of other states that post unofficial election results in this manner. And then there was a request to me to see if I could determine how the newspapers in Maine obtain unofficial election results. And here's the response from the Bangor Daily News. And it looks like they do a lot of calling and contacting different municipal clerks, or they have systems set up to get those results. And then just by contrast, because I hadn't heard from the newspapers right away and I didn't know if I'd have an answer, I did find an article from the Brennan Center for Justice discussing how the AP finds unofficial election results on election days. And we don't have a fiscal impact statement yet, but there was a lot of testimony about potential costs. So I imagine there would be a cost. I just don't know what it is.
Thank you, Janet. Any questions from members of the committee this time? Questions or comments? Representative Tuttle. Representative Tuttle, you're on mute. Sorry.
Mute. Well, it's probably a good thing. But no, I understand the concerns of the representative in sponsoring the bill, but having talked to the Clerks Association, particularly a number of our small towns, I really think it's probably going to create more problems than it solves. So I would move ought not to pass, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Tuttle, we've got a motion ought not to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Chiazzo. Any further discussion on this bill? Okay. Seeing none, the motion is ought not to pass by Representative Tuttle and seconded by Representative Chiazzo. We will proceed to the vote, having no further discussion, and it will proceed to a roll call. Karen, if you're ready.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Farren, yes. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley. Representative Riley, absent. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney.
I'm here, but I don't have the ability to turn on my video, so I'll call in later, but I am listening in.
All right, we'll come back to you then. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey.
Yes.
Representative Corey, yes. Representative Dollop.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Representative Dollop. Representative Kinney? Okay, she didn't.
Yeah, I'll have to call my vote in
All right,
later.
Representative Kinney, absent. So 11 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 2 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you, Karen. So that's unanimous of those present for the ought not to pass motion. With that, we'll close the work session on LD 638. I think next we can move to LD 202. I'll give a minute for Karen and Janet to get ready, but LD 202 is a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Maine to implement ranked choice voting. So for this bill, we had tasked a group to get together to work up the language for the amendment. And Janet, do you have that amendment?
Yes, just a sec. So it is posted on the committee webpage now. Just have to go through many, many clicks to get there. So here is the proposed amendment. So I was asked to consult with Senator Miramont and put together an amendment that he approved, and he was directed to work with the stakeholders that he wanted to work with, and I was told to report back who those were. So as far as I am aware, although I was not involved in every single discussion, Senator Miramont worked with John Bartigam of the League of Women Voters, as well as Will Hayward, and Mike Saxel from Represent Us was involved as well. Jonathan Bolton at the Attorney General's office was consulted and was very helpful in drafting. And Joanne Bautista kept the Secretary of State's office in the loop, and then I helped a little bit with the drafting as well. So the red text here shows you changes that are made with this draft, and if you see anything in black that's stricken through or underlined, that's the original version of the bill. So what this amendment does is it changes the language throughout the provisions of the Constitution involving the general elections for state representative, for state senator, and for governor. And it specifies that when these elections are conducted, if there are 3 or more candidates, then the voters should rank candidates in order of preference according to a procedure established by law. The local officials still form a record of all the votes received and sort, count, and declare the votes for each candidate. But if it is an election where there are 3 or more candidates for that office, then the local officials are going to be counting the first choice votes for each candidate. All of that information is then transmitted to the Secretary of State's office, together with such other records of the vote as may be required. I believe this is usually copies of the ballots, either the actual ballots or maybe scanned copies. I can't remember which, but they need to have all of that to conduct the ranked choice rounds. And then the Secretary of State tabulates the votes. If there's only 2 candidates or fewer, then the person who has the majority of all the votes returned is declared the winner of that election. If there are 3 or more candidates, then the Secretary of State tabulates in rounds according to the procedure established by law. And then the person who has the majority of all the votes in the final round of tabulation is the winner of that election. That is the provision for representatives in the Constitution amended to implement ranked choice voting. And then if you look, the next few sections are the provisions that govern, that govern Senate races. And basically what you need to focus on is that the Secretary of State is directed to tabulate the votes in the same manner as for representatives. So the same rules would apply. If there are 2 or fewer candidates, it's just the strict majority winner of the vote. If there are 3 or more candidates, then the tabulation would proceed in rounds through the ranked choice voting method established in law. And the majority of all votes in the final round would be the winner. And then the final provision here is the one for governor. And again, it's going to be, if there are 3 or more candidates, you use electors ranking the candidates, and they tabulate in the same manner as for senators and representatives. So that same process would apply. And then at the end, the amendment also changes the question that is posed to the voters. So the question in the original version of this resolution was to ask if the voters wanted governor, state senator, and state representative to be elected by a majority. And this would say, do the voters want those 3 offices to be elected by ranked choice voting? And then everything else stays the same as far as the procedure for that to be put on the ballot if it goes forward as a resolution. And then the summary just explains that it's going to apply ranked choice voting to the general elections for these 3 offices. As you know, the primary elections already have ranked choice voting for those 3 offices. I don't know if you want me to answer any specific questions about it or let you all see each other so you can discuss.
Great, thank you, Janet. We can take questions if there are any, and thanks to the stakeholders who got together from the AG's office and Secretary of State's office to work this. So any questions or comments or discussion from the committee at this time? Okay, seeing no hands, is anybody prepared to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we ought to pass as amended.
Second.
So there's a motion of ought to pass as amended by Representative Chiazzo and seconded by Representative McCrate. And the amendment is the document Janet just walked us through, correct?
Correct.
Great. Okay, any further discussion on that? Seeing none, seeing no further discussion, we can proceed to a vote. The motion again is ought to pass as amended, and we'll vote by roll call.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
No.
Senator Farren, no. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCrate.
Yes.
Representative McCrate, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley. Representative Riley, absent. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood. Representative Wood, absent. Representative Kinney. Representative Kinney, absent. Representative Harrington.
No.
Representative Harrington, no. Representative Corey.
No.
Representative Corey, no. Representative Dollop.
No.
Representative Dollop, no. 6 in favor of the motion, 4 against the motion, and 3 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, Karen. So a 6-4 vote, and the members who are absent will have until noon on the second day to cast their vote. And sorry, for the minority is not to pass, I'm assuming. Is that correct? Okay, not to pass.
Not to pass, yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up, we will move to LD 656. And we'll give Karen and Janet a minute to finish filing the vote stuff.
Did you say 656?
I forgot. I think, yeah,
That's what I
656. Sure.
that's what I heard, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we'll take one of those two and then we'll do the 3 after. Sorry about that.
LD1, Mr. Chair.
Don't confuse me. It's very easy to do, Representative Tuttle. My mind can't take it all.
I can identify with that, Janet.
Thank you. Okay, 656. Here we go. So LD 656 is an act to strengthen the integrity of the Office of Marijuana Policy. This bill prohibits a person who was employed by or who provided compensated or uncompensated services to the Office of Marijuana Policy within the previous 24 months. It prohibits those persons from engaging in activities that require registration as a lobbyist or a lobbyist associate. Violations of that provision of the bill are punishable by a civil fine of up to $100 per day engaged in lobbying. In addition, if you were employed by or provided services to the Office of Marijuana Policy within the previous 24 months, the bill also prohibits you from being employed by or engaging in compensated activity for an entity registered under the Maine Medical Use of Marijuana Act or an entity licensed under the Marijuana Legalization Act. There were questions or discussion about current law and how that applies. So just as a reminder for everyone, under current law, a legislator may not engage in any compensated lobbying for 1 year after the legislator's term ends. In addition, a person who's employed in a position for which the salary is subject to adjustment by the governor or in a major policy influencing position is not allowed to engage in activities that require registration as a lobbyist or a lobbyist associate for 12 months after that employment. What you may remember is there is no one in the Office of Marijuana Policy currently who is considered to be in a major policy influencing position or whose salary is subject to adjustment by the governor. The original version of the biennial budget did propose to move the director into those categories. I have no idea if that is part of the biennial budget amendments that were voted in AFA yesterday. But just so you know, current law, there's nobody in this category in the Office of Marijuana Policy. In addition, under current law, an executive employee who's defined to include a constitutional officer, executive branch employee, member of a state board or commission, other than the governor, National Guard members, or certain higher education employees and certain advisory board employees are members. So basically, all of your members of the Office of Marijuana Policy fall under this category of executive employee. They are not allowed to participate in their official capacity in the legislative process concerning legislation for which any of the following would have a direct or indirect substantial financial interest unless they disclose that interest at the time of their participation. So if they're personally going to be benefited or harmed financially by legislation, they can't participate in the legislative process. And this does include if a person or organization with whom they've negotiated or have agreed to an arrangement concerning prospective employment, if that entity or person is going to be substantially financially benefited or harmed by legislation, then a member of the OMP would not be able to participate in the legislative process unless they disclose that in advance. In addition, the following two provisions of law in current Maine law do apply to all members of the Office of Marijuana Policy. Well, all former members, I suppose. So a former executive employee, including anyone in the Office of Marijuana Policy, may not advocate for or appear before that agency. So if you used to work for OMP, you wouldn't be able to appear before, advocate before OMP on behalf of anyone other than the state in connection with a proceeding in which that specific issue was pending and was directly within your responsibilities as an OMP employee. If that matter was pending prior to the 12 months right before you left OMP, then you would not be able to participate in front of OMP on that matter for 1 year after you leave the agency. But if that matter was pending before the Office of Marijuana Policy within the last 12 months that you worked there, then you would never be able to appear before OMP on behalf of anyone other than the state in connection with that matter. So that is current law also, and it does apply to all the OMP members. There's also current law about state employee conflicts of interest. So an executive employee, again, that always includes members of the Office of Marijuana Policy, is directed by law to endeavor to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest by disclosure or abstention. So you would disclose your interests in any kind of proceeding, or you would abstain from participating in it. But the definition of conflict of interest for that statutory purpose includes receiving remuneration, which is a difficult word to say, but it basically means money for performing functions that the employee would otherwise be expected to perform as part of the employee's job. So that's the easiest example to understand is you wouldn't be able to take a bribe for doing your job because that would be a conflict of interest. There's also current law that prohibits, that applies to executive employees. Again, those are always going to be employees of the Office of Marijuana Policy. They may not have any direct or indirect financial interest in a state contract if they're employing agency. So if OMP is a party to a contract, then it can't involve any direct or indirect financial interest of any of its employees. There are some exceptions which are specified in that statute. If you want to go through them, I can call up the statute and we can talk about it. There was discussion in many of the pieces of testimony that were submitted about federal law and its prohibitions. So I didn't know if you wanted to know about that federal law. So just in brief, Former executive branch employees generally can't communicate with or appear on behalf of a party other than the federal government before any federal government agency in connection with a specific matter that they personally and substantially participated in while employed in the executive branch, and that prohibition is permanent. In addition, even if that person, while they were employed by the federal executive branch, didn't personally participate in that matter, but it was under their official responsibility, then they're prohibited from appearing before the agency involving that matter for 2 years after they stop working for the federal government. There are also some prohibitions that apply only to certain senior level employees, and depending on how senior you are, it's either a 1-year prohibition or a 2-year prohibition. And it says you can't, if you were a senior employee in an agency, appear before that agency on any matter, whether you were involved in it or not, whether it was under your jurisdiction or not. You can't appear on any matter before that agency, again, for a period of either 1 year or 2 years, depending on how senior you were in that agency. But because it's a prohibition that applies, that prevents you from going back to the agency you used to work for and appearing before them, and this is about executive branch officials, that's not a lobbying prohibition, because when you lobby Congress. There is information that the National Conference of State Legislatures compiled as recently as September of last year, discussing different revolving door prohibitions, and I've linked it there. And I did send all the members of the committee an email with that attachment because it was a little hard to print. So if you wanted to look at it in a different formatting, I'm not going to upload that to the website, however, because I need to clarify whether that violates some kind of copyright things. So once I figure that out, we'll figure out if we can post NCSL things on our website. As far as issues being raised at the public hearing, there were many questions raised about whether the bill's prohibitions should extend to all executive branch employees or just those within the Office of Marijuana Policy. And then there were several technical issues. I think the bill would need a lot of clarification if you wanted to move forward with it. So I think I'm going to wait on those and talk about them. If anybody wants to move forward with it, I do think we need to talk about these issues. But I just don't know the sense of the room because we're not all in the same room. I can't get the sense of the room. So I'm going to stop here for a second.
It makes it tough by Zoom to get the feel for the room. Any questions? Representative Tuttle. Representative, you're on mute. Sorry.
Probably a good thing for the second time, Mr. Chair. Realizing the concerns of the sponsor of the bill, I can appreciate his concerns, but I think that from the testimony at the public hearing, many of these areas are already covered under present state law. And that by doing this, I think we would just make one particular agency more stringent than the other, and therefore I would move ought not to pass, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we've got a motion of ought not to pass. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Senator Farren. Discussion. Senator Hickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will support the motion. I do believe, though, that the legislature could and needs to have a discussion about strengthening our revolving door laws to make sure that they can be enforced to the full effect of what they're intended to do. And so this isn't the proper vehicle for that. The bill title suggests that we're holding one office accountable. And if you don't read the bill itself, then you would not know that we were even having a discussion about revolving door campaign finance reform. And so hopefully we can have that conversation in the future, but this isn't the place for it. And so I will support the motion.
Okay, any other discussion on this one? Representative Corey.
I'll agree with Senator Hickman, not Representative Hickman, Senator Hickman, on that. I hate the revolving door. I feel like what should be good enough for legislature should be good enough for people that work within state government. sometimes I feel like they're probably better connected than some of us are with regard to committees and policy issues and people. But I'll support the pending motion. I know that, and I think Senator Hickman is correct. It's just not the right vehicle, for this. But there's gotta be a way to figure out how to do this.
Representative Supika.
Thank you. I wanted to thank Senator Hickman for his words. I absolutely agree with both Senator Hickman and Representative Corey. I am new to the legislature, but I really hope that we do take up this discussion in the next 2 years that I am here, because I think it is important, and I do see how there's opportunities for staff or people working for the state to develop those relationships much longer over time, and I think it is an issue. So, thank you. I will also be supporting the motion.
Great. And Senator Hickman, did you have a follow-up? Okay. Representative Corey, did you have a follow-up? Okay, sorry. Great. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a roll call. And again, the motion is ought not to pass. It was made by Representative Tuttle, seconded by Senator Farren.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman.
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Farren, yes. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley. Representative Riley, absent. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney. Representative Kinney, absent. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey.
Yes.
Representative Corey, yes. Representative Dollop.
Yes.
Representative Dollop, yes. 11 members voting in favor of the motion, 0 voting against the motion, and 2 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Karen. So it's unanimous of those present, and those who aren't here will have till noon on the second day to cast their vote electronically. Next up, let's go to LD 670, which is an act to increase the lobbyist registration fee. It's a department bill.
Thanks for your patience. So LD 670, as the senator said, is an act to increase the lobbyist registration fee submitted by the Commission on Governmental Ethics and Election Practices. Current law requires each lobbyist to register annually with the commission no later than 15 days after lobbying more than 8 hours in a calendar month for a single employer. And that's the term used in the lobbying laws for the lobbyist client. So that's what employer means there. When that registration is filed, the lobbyist must pay a $200 registration and an additional $100 fee for each lobbyist associate who's included in the registration as also lobbying for that employer. This bill increases those fees to $250 for the lobbyist per employer and $125 for each lobbyist associate included on that registration. The relevant definitions are here if you wanted to talk about when they apply, but I just thought it would be helpful for you to see them. As far as current law registration reporting requirements, for each registration, there's an itemized list in current statute about the information that has to be included in that registration, and there's detailed reporting requirements for each month that the legislature's in session that a lobbyist who is registered has to submit. And then when the legislature is not in session, they still have to file reports if they're still engaging in lobbying. So all of that information is available online in those statutes, and I've summarized it briefly there for you. At the public hearing, the executive director of the Ethics Commission testified that the commission is proposing this increase in the fees to fund improvements to the electronic application through which lobbyists e-file their monthly reports and which provides publicly accessible, provides public access on the website for the legislators, the press, and members of the public who want to have more information about the lobbyists. And the Ethics Commission anticipates that this new system will be operational in the fall of 2020. There's no technical issues that I saw with the bill, and there's no fiscal impact that's yet been determined, but it would be an increase in revenue as opposed to an increase in cost. And then attached are the statutes talking about the requirements for that website that the Ethics Commission indicated this bill is intended to support.
Great. Thank you, Janet. Representative Tuttle. Sorry, Representative, you're on mute.
Well, here we go again, Lou. You'll have me trained by the end of the day. I would move ought to pass as amended if that's appropriate.
Okay.
Second.
The motion of ought to pass as amended by Representative Tuttle and seconded by Representative McCrate. And the amendment is the fiscal note, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Representative McCrate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say this seems so reasonable, particularly after such a long time. And the Director Wayne explained why the cost was necessary, and it isn't an excessive amount in line with what they need to do. It reminds me with 200 for first and 100 for additional with the same firm, it makes me think about when you have the family rate for kids camp. So I think that makes sense.
Okay, Representative Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't be supporting the pending motion. I think that my concern is, and not that I don't think that, the Ethics Commission is sort of, it doesn't have a good idea here, and that, we should, have, the people, the users of a system, actually pay for that system. But I still have concerns, as I brought up during the public hearing, that I don't feel like this is scalable. I feel like, there are smaller, Maine-based nonprofits that, $250 could be, a lot of money for. And then there's sort of larger, lobbying firms for, $200 plus $100 per additional associate is chump change based on who's paying them. So, I wish we could find a scalable system here. I know that's probably not a very Republican belief of me, for me to have, but I feel like things should be scalable. I feel like $200 can be a lot for a small Maine-based nonprofit that, has a concern about a piece of statute that could affect them. So I won't be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Hey, Representative Harrington.
Yeah, just echo Representative Corey's comment. Fundamentally, I can't support something that raises the fee on the ability of people to have their voices heard. So I'll be voting against the motion.
Representative Chiazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I can understand the concerns of my colleagues, but I think we heard from the director that this is going to the right spot. I think the increase is reasonable, and the fact that most of the lobbyists at this point are passing those costs on to their clients. And bear in mind, this does not prevent people from coming to the legislature and testifying before us as citizens. They're welcome, and we encourage them to participate for sure. So I think it's reasonable. I think it's a reasonable request from the director to try and find a good source of additional revenue that makes sense. It certainly impacts the people that it's designed to, and I will definitely be supporting this motion.
Okay, Representative Supika.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Representative Corey. Are we able to do scalable things like being new? Like, is that something that we could amend so it is scalable?
I'm not an attorney, so like I don't know what's allowed. It's sort of in main law or whether or not we're able to do that. I know that with certain things, it's funny because I actually think that organizations like the Cooperative Extension have scalable systems based on what people can and can't afford, and that's certainly kind of a government entity since they're associated with the public university system. So it looks like Janet is raising her hand, so maybe she has an idea whether or not we could do something like that.
I should have directed that towards Janet. Thank you, Janet.
No problem. I don't mind when you ask other people. It gets me off the hook. I don't see any reason why you couldn't make it a scalable fee. The problem would be you need to be very specific for me about who pays what fee and how you determine that. Is it determined by the lobbying firm's size, their revenues? How's the information going to get to the Ethics Commission? It's working out all the details. So it's not that it's not possible. I just would need the details. And then I'd work on it probably with your permission with Director Wayne to make sure it could work and the language would work.
Okay.
And Representative Supika, Director Wayne is here. I don't know if you like to hear from him on that also. Sure, we can bring in Director Wayne. Welcome, Director.
Thank you.
I don't know if you heard the question, like if the Ethics Commission has ever considered like a scaled payment model, maybe based on the fees or something charged. I don't know.
No, we hadn't really thought of it until I heard the comments from Representative Corey. I do know that I think it's true that the Association of State, the NCSL, the Association of State Legislatures, does have a chart showing all of the fees that are charged to lobbyists across the country. And I don't remember seeing sliding scales, if that means anything. It doesn't mean Maine couldn't go in that direction. The other option would be maybe a hardship waiver if the fee were increased, but there was a nonprofit or someone who felt that would be a hardship. They could ask for a waiver, and we'd certainly be very happy to consider that. The only thing is I hate to ask a lot of intrusive questions about budgets and cost of lobbying effort. It just could be intrusive. It could be a lot to administer if there's a lot of research involved in us and deciding how much fee to charge each organization. That we wouldn't, I don't know if we want to take that on willingly, but I understand where Representative Corey is coming from. I just don't know the right way to go about it. Thank you.
Representative Corey, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm definitely intrigued by that idea of sort of a hardship waiver, and I agree with Director Wayne that we'd want to probably keep that as unintrusive as possible. It's certainly something that I'd be willing to sit down and work on with Director Wayne and Representative Supika and see if we can come to some kind of idea there. And if we can't, I'd be I'll probably still not support the motion because we're not able to, but I would be willing to work with my colleague on the committee and the director to come up with something and try to report back.
That sounds like a good idea to me. We've got a number of hands up, so I'm going to go. Oh, okay, it's moving. Representative Kinney, Chiazzo, Dolph, Hickman, McCray. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize. I'm still not able to get onto video and my audio is a little bit spotty, but I'm going to try to make my point. I'm also opposed to the pending motion. I have concerns. There are small organizations that have a lobbyist on board that does register. They usually have other duties within the organization as well. And the idea of raising the fees across the board for lobbying, for lobbyists, to me, just at this time during a pandemic when so many people are struggling, and our lobbyists at this point aren't even able to meet up with us in many ways. They're having to do everything electronically. They're not meeting with us in the halls. It's their job has become harder and in a lot of ways probably more expensive just in trying to communicate and track people down and maybe meet one-on-one with legislators. I just think this is a poor time to be raising fees to any organization. And so when I do call in my vote, because I'm still not going to be on video, I will be opposing the pending motion.
Okay, Representative Chiazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I think it's fascinating and intriguing we have this discussion, and obviously this was not something on the department's radar. Otherwise, they probably would have put that in the proposal since it is a department bill. I guess my question to Director Wayne would be, are there any challenges that, again, I know you haven't looked at it. We're really kind of in the philosophical phase of it right now. Any difficulties or challenges you can see now off the top of your head about implementing something like that and managing something like that?
Do you mean the hardship waiver, Representative?
No, I'm sorry. Any kind of type of tiered structure. I think a hardship waiver could be a simple application process, but I was thinking more of a tiered structure type of arrangement.
Yeah, I think that we would just, if you did want to move into the direction of different fees for different categories, the statute ought to just be clear on what you want to base that on. Is it revenue to the nonprofit or the association or the commercial entity that's hiring the lobbyist, so that we like I said, just what I said earlier is that the administrative, you know, if it involves certain, you know, sort of an inquiry for us to figure out what is the right fee for each organization based on their revenue or the compensation that they pay their lobbyists, that might be, if you want to move in that direction, that might be better, you know, brackets based on amount of compensation paid in the previous year or something like that. It's just, some of the organizations might find it intrusive to have to disclose revenue or compensation is something that they have to report anyway. So that's publicly available information. It would be a lot of work. I think almost all states that I recall when I looked at the NCL list briefly, they just have a simple fee for all clients. So, yeah.
Representative Dolph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It may be a process. I'm not gonna repeat what my fellow representatives have said, but I have the same feeling as Representative Corey, Representative Harrington, and Representative Kinney. And it was a good thought. I believe it can be a scale. It may take a little bit of work, but I think we would come up with a fairer scale for all of them. So thank you.
Senator Hickman.
I will defer if someone else wants to say something about this bill.
Okay, Representative McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Wayne, isn't it true that an organization can testify and speak with members if they stay under a certain number of hours? I think it's 8 hours in a month.
That's right. So the registration and the reporting and the payment of the fee only applies if someone is being compensated. If it's an organization or a business or a person who just feels strongly about legislation, they don't have to register at all, and no one's getting paid to lobby. But the trigger for registering and filing financial reports with us is lobbying for 8 hours in a calendar month. So it is a fair amount of lobbying, and lobbying is narrowly defined just to mean time spent communicating with the official. So time spent hanging around the building, or when people are allowed in the building, and or waiting time, that's not lobbying. It's actually communication time counts towards the 8-hour threshold along with preparing testimony. So you have to actually do a fair amount of lobbying. If I could just add one thing, I don't know that I'm going to persuade the representatives who are not in favor, but just on the issue of charging people more for lobbying, this is something that we take very seriously. In fact, there was a referendum in the 90s that increased fees on lobbying, and some of the clients of lobbyists sued the state and said, this is unconstitutional. You can't overcharge us for lobbying. And the state, this was before my time in state government, but the state settled with the clients and said, you're right. The state recognizes that the principle applies that you can only charge registration fees that have some relationship to the cost of administering the lobbyist disclosure program. So that litigation back in the 90s is the prime reason that we have not raised our fees other than that current since 1993. That's why they've stayed the same for 28 years and have not been increased, is because we take it seriously that we don't want to overcharge. So we think that again, I just want you to know as background, because this will go to the whole chambers, that we take that seriously, and the amount of the increase we think is justifiable on the grounds of this is what it costs us to administer this program. We're not trying to bring in extra revenue. We're just trying to cover our costs in administering this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Just thank you, Director Wayne. I really appreciate that. And that's what I felt the numbers you were coming with were exactly what you just said to cover the cost. And I think the ability to represent, if you keep it under a certain number of hours, has allowed those smaller organizations to do what they would like to do and need to do. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess one is a question for Director Wayne, and it would be, he had mentioned that the time spent preparing testimony counts towards that 8 hours. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
I'm like a really slow writer. So if I was a lobbyist, I would be horrible at getting it under those 8 hours. But number two, I mean, I think that one of the big things, that intrigues me about, this idea of having, a waiver, is that, one, if we made, the acquisition of those waivers, public, that somebody actually has to say that, yes, we applied, to waive the lobbying fee or something like that. It would really come down to, what an organization would look like doing that. I think that there would be, a huge difference between, the Freeport Land Trust, applying for a waiver, and somebody that represents a large multinational, corporation applying, for a waiver. So I think what I'm getting at with that is that I don't feel like we would even have to be that, do you know what I mean, and intrusive in it, because if somebody's, application for that waiver was public information, there would certainly be some companies that would be embarrassed, do you know what I mean, even going, for that. So, I just, 8 hours may seem like a lot to some folks, but, if you think about how long it would take to call just everybody on this committee, especially, as things are right now, and, preparation for a bill, and then to write testimony, your 8 hours within that month could get eaten up, pretty quickly. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, Senator Hickman.
He's very still.
Yeah. No. Not sure. I think he has two committees simultaneously, so I'm sure he's bouncing back and forth. Okay, any other discussion or questions for this? Representative Corey?
I just like to, float out there that I would still be very interested in working with somebody, on this idea, if we wanted to table it, but if the majority of the committee feels like they just want to move ahead with a vote on this, I'm fine with that as well.
I'm fine with taking a little time if that works. Representative Tuttle. Sorry, Representative, you're on mute again.
I would move that we would table this.
Okay, motion to table LD 670. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah. Okay, seconded by Representative Supika. So motion to table by Representative Tuttle, seconded by Representative Supika. The motion is not debatable, so we'll proceed to a roll call.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman. Senator Hickman, absent. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Farren, yes. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Oops. Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood. Representative Wood, absent. Representative Kinney. Representative Kinney, absent. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey.
Yes.
Representative Corey, yes. Representative Dolph.
Yes.
Representative Dolph, yes. Ten in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 3 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, Karen. So 10-0, that item is tabled. So next up, we've got, let's see. So we've got the remaining 3 bills. We did an initial work session. So this is LDs 194, an act to prohibit contributions, expenditures, and participation by foreign government-owned entities to influence referenda. LD 479, an act to ban foreign campaign contributions and expenditures in main elections. And LD 641, an act to prohibit contributions, expenditures, and participation by foreign nationals to influence referenda. Representative Tuttle. Representative Tuttle, I think they put a trick button on your computer today.
Unmute there. Well, I think there's some divine reason for that, Mr. Chair, but I believe that one of the sponsors of the bill had requested, used to be leave to withdraw, ought not to pass. Do you remember which one that was?
Yep, it was Representative Reisman, and I believe it was 641, but I'll take a look.
All right, well, I'd move ought not to pass on that.
Okay, so regarding LD 641, we have a motion of ought not to pass by Representative Tuttle. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative McCray. And again, this was the one that the sponsor said he'd be fine with deferring to somebody else. Any discussion on the motion of ought not to pass? Seeing none, we will proceed to a roll call vote. And the motion again, sorry,
Yes,
is not
I'm
to
just going to
pass.
ask you a point of clarification. We are voting on LD 641, correct?
Yep, sorry, yeah, LD 641, and the motion was ought not to pass.
By Representative Tuttle and seconded by Representative McCray?
Yep.
Okay. Senator Lucchini?
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman? Senator Hickman, absent. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Farren, yes. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood. Representative Wood, absent. Representative Kinney. Representative Kinney, absent. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey.
Yes.
Representative Corey, yes. Representative Dollop.
Yes.
Representative Dollop, yes. 10 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 3 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Karen. So all those present voting in favor, the 3 absentees will have 2 days to register their votes. Do we want to continue on then with the discussion on 479 or 194? Let's start with 479. Is there any further discussions or questions? Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing as how we disposed of that one, and there's still a lot of information to digest on these, and I don't want to stifle the conversation. I just want to kind of tee up the fact that I think I would prefer myself personally to have some more time to work on these bills, but I don't want to make that yet until I see if there's any work to be done.
Very much appreciate, Senator. I think that's probably that seems to be the general thought, is a little more time. But while we have Janet here and some attendees in the waiting room, if there are questions or concerns, we certainly can address those. Representative Tuttle, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, good. That's good to know. It's good to know. Okay, if there's no further discussion or no question, Senator Farren.
Yeah, I'll come back with one. Just kind of sharing, having this discussion around between these two bills. I'm trying. I'll tell you the committee where I'm at and what I'm kind of working on a little bit with LD 194 is prohibiting from foreign governments. That piece of it, and especially the entity piece and how that fluctuation, the percentage can vary. That's what I'm trying to work around a little bit and have some of those discussions. I think, Mr. Chair, you mentioned that in your questions and concerns about that piece. I'm really looking at that vehicle as one that I'm trying to wrap my head around. I don't know what other concerns members of the committee have that we can flush out while we're all here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a valid point. I think we all, I had some concerns about that personally, and we'll see. The analysis was pretty spot on. I guess the question is where are we going to land as a group? I think the other issue too is the emergency means versus the non-emergency, and do we need to have a sense of urgency? I know that there are some ongoing projects, let's say, or something that this could impact directly, but I think one was a little bit more comprehensive and certainly a little bit more complex and maybe a little bit more broad than the other. So I don't know if there are concerns on the committee about the emergency portion of it. Do we want to address that, or do we want to just let it stew for a little bit longer and come up with some more questions? Senator Farren.
Seeing no other hands raised there on my screen, Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion to table LD 194.
Second.
All right. Motion to table from Senator Farren, seconded by Representative Tuttle. And Karen, if you're when you're ready, we can take the vote.
Senator Lucchini.
Yes.
Senator Lucchini, yes. Senator Hickman. Senator Hickman, absent. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Farren, yes. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood. Representative Wood, absent. Representative Kinney. Representative Kinney, absent. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey.
Yes.
Representative Corey, yes. Representative Dolph.
Yes.
Representative Dolph, yes. 10 in favor of the motion, 0 against the motion, and 3 members absent, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Karen. So the tabling motion is successful. We'll put that one aside for now. Any further discussion on 479? Senator Farren.
Make a motion to table LD 479.
All right.
Second.
Table motion. All right. So motion to table is moved by Senator Farren, seconded by Representative Tuttle. Non-debatable. So Karen, when you're ready, we can go to the roll.
Senator Lucchini. Senator Lucchini, absent. Senator Hickman. Senator Hickman, absent. Senator Farren.
Yes.
Senator Farren, yes. Representative Chiazzo.
Yes.
Representative Chiazzo, yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray, yes. Representative Tuttle.
Yes.
Representative Tuttle, yes. Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Riley, yes. Representative Supika.
Yes.
Representative Supika, yes. Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Wood, yes. Representative Kinney. Representative Kinney, absent. Representative Harrington.
Yes.
Representative Harrington, yes. Representative Corey.
Yes.
Representative Corey, yes. Representative Dolph.
Yes.
Representative Dolph, yes. 10 members voting in favor of the motion, 0 voting against the motion, and 3 members absent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Karen. So the tabling motion is successful. We'll table 479 to a later date. I think that's all on our work session list, unless I'm mistaken, Janet. Okay. Anything else in your docket that we need to look at or review before we part ways for the day? Okay. Just some house. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Janet.
I was just going to say Mondays at 9. That's it.
Perfect. Yep. I just want to
And I
let
won't be
everybody.
there.
And you will not be there. Okay. So be prepared to do your own analysis, folks. I'm just kidding. All right. So, and a reminder also, we have canceled Wednesday's hearings because we will be in session on Tuesday. So Monday, 9 o'clock is the next meeting for the committee. Any questions, comments, concerns before we adjourn? All right, seeing none. Thank you, everybody. It was a long, busy day for a Friday, and have a great weekend. And we'll see you all live on Tuesday. See you at 9 o'clock before then, for sure.